So give us a few more moments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I understand this is presentation only. We'll take the vote at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, scheduled for January the 20th.
And I thank the chair and the committee for that deference, as I know that there are committee members that aren't here today that want to have an opportunity to voice in on this. Mr. Chairman and members, I'm here on behalf of myself and 13 of my Assembly colleagues to request that the State Auditor report back to us about the implementation of the provisions of the California Clean Energy Jobs Act, also known as Proposition 39. Prop 39 was approved by the voters in November of 2012. Beginning in 2013, multi-state businesses would no longer be able to choose the taxing formula which would minimize their California tax liability. The proponents of the Proposition 39 estimated that this would generate up to an excess of $500 million per year in state tax revenue. Proposition 39 also provided that the new revenue would be set aside annually to combat climate change, increase energy efficiency, and create jobs. And for those members that were here in the Assembly and the Senate for that legislative year 2012-13 or 13-14, you'll remember that this was attempted to pass through the legislature several times and failed. So the proponents had to take it to the initiative process. In 2013, SB 73 by Senator Leno was enacted, which required that any entity receiving Prop 39 money must submit a report to the Citizens Oversight Board within a specific amount of time, detailing, among other things, when and how the monies were used to save energy and create jobs. There were also other reports required to be made public about the use of all of these funds. According to this committee's own analysis, in 2013, the legislature appropriated $464 million. In 2014, the legislature appropriated $354 million. And in 2015, we appropriated $360 million for these purposes. Add those up, and we're getting pretty close to the amount of that's currently in the Powerball lottery, which we all know is a lot of money. Back in August of 2015, I saw an article. I think we all saw the article in the Business Insider from the Associated Press with the headline, "California Measure Fails to Create Green Jobs." As of August 2015, the Citizens Oversight Board had never met and no reports had been made public. According to the article, only 1,700 jobs have been created in 3 years since the passage of Prop 39. And by the way, the term jobs in this context means one person working for 1 year. I think most people, us as legislators and the voters when they approved Prop 39, expect that when we say we're going to create jobs, we'll be creating a full-time permanent job. It's not some artificial job year statistic. My colleagues and I just want to know where all this money is going and where are all the promised new green jobs. And thus, I ask for your aye vote on this audit recommendation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Member Jones. I'm going to pause for a moment and ask the Secretary to call the roll on the item number 2016-108, the Department of Developmental Services, Respite in-home services, while we still have votes.
On item 2016-108, Senator Cannella? Aye. Cannella, aye. Fuller? Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. And Leyva.
Okay, that's out. That request will be taken out. Next, we will have our State Auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Assemblymember Jones indicated, several members of the legislature requesting this audit and specifically looking at Prop 39, the California Clean Energy Jobs Act. First objective is determining how much money has been spent to date and identifying the types of projects and activities those funds have been allocated to or actually spent. There are a variety of state agencies that have responsibilities with respect to the Clean Energy Jobs Act. That would be the Energy Commission, California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office, Workforce Development Board, and California Conservation Corps. We talk about that a little bit in the background. What the members are asking us to look at is each of those responsible agencies, are they ensuring that recipients that have received funds are complying with statutes and program guidelines for this particular program, the Clean Energy Jobs Act and the programs associated with it. If there have been funds that were determined that were not used in accordance with statute or regulations or program guidance, have those agencies sought to recoup those funds from those particular recipients. So that's an objective he's asked us to look at. In addition, as Assemblymember Jones indicated, there's this Citizens Oversight Board. First question they're asking is why did it take until September of 2015 for the board to first meet? Also looking at the roles and responsibilities of the board and what actions the board has taken to date to comply and really implement or take on their responsibilities as an oversight board. In addition, it's my understanding the board is required to provide a report to the legislature, and the members are asking us to evaluate the timeline the board's put together for issuing that first report to the legislature. The final objective is asking us to identify the number of jobs created through this particular proposition, and also look at whether or not the state actually has a plan for creating additional jobs and what types of jobs would those be. The audit's budgeted about 2,100, little over 2,100 hours, about 5 months worth of work.
Thank you very much, Madam Auditor. The affected agency. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Chair members. My name is Jack Bastida. I am staff to the Citizens Oversight Board. I'm here to answer any questions. And I have a letter from the chair. Would request the chair to, if I could read that letter.
Sure, it's part of your testimony.
Okay. Dear Chair members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come before you to speak today on the request for the State Auditor to conduct an audit on the California Clean Energy Jobs Act, Citizen Oversight Board operations. I truly apologize for not being able to be there in person, but I am hosting a delegation of Chinese business leaders in the South Bay this week and are unable to get away. Our staff member, Jack Bastida, will attend the hearing to represent the board and can answer any questions within his knowledge and purview. But let me give you a little background here on board operations so you know what we've been up to. On September 8th, 2015, the California Citizens Oversight Board of the California Clean Energy Jobs Act met in Sacramento for its first public meeting. At the meeting, I was elected chair of the board. The board is newly formed and required some informational meetings with presentations from all affected agencies and various stakeholders to better understand the California Clean Energy Jobs Act. However, we are now taking concrete steps to fulfilling our responsibilities, which include but are not limited to, number one, commissioning an annual program audit of the Job Creation Fund, 2, receiving reports from all affected agencies on the status of projects under their authority, and 3, submitting the board evaluation of the program based on these agency reports to the legislature. At the last board meeting, the board formed audit and report committees to handle these responsibilities, and these committees are moving full steam ahead. We have also voted to accept the California Community College Chancellor's Office annual report as an input to our legislative report. The board is planning on submitting our evaluation to the program to the legislature no more than 90 days after the end of the calendar year. All of the board meeting agenda, minutes, and attachments are publicly available, as are data on every project proposed and completed under the Proposition 39 program. I encourage you to peruse the California Energy Commission website for detailed information on the major portion of these projects, which are in K-12 public and charter schools, and to review the California Community College System report as well. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you today and explain the plans for the Citizens Oversight Board. If you have any follow-up questions related to the board, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Kate Gordon, Chair, Citizens Oversight Board.
Thank you very much. Did you have testimony you want
Yes.
to provide to the committee?
Yes, please. Susan Yeager from the California Community Colleges. I'm the Director of Facilities and the manager of the Proposition 39 program for community colleges. I would note that my comments today pertain only to community colleges because we have a different process than that laid out for the K-12 schools. The community colleges have long had a direct allocation relationship with our districts, and additionally, the Chancellor's Office has a long-standing relationship with the investor-owned utilities. We were able to leverage that infrastructure to facilitate the implementation of Proposition 39, which enabled us to get projects approved quickly and funds distributed to the districts. We currently, in total, we've had over 600 projects in process. We currently have 180 closed out projects. That means that they have been constructed, the energy savings verified by the utilities, and they are done with those projects. These projects have resulted in over $3 million of annual energy cost savings to districts and 238 average year-long jobs. And so I understand the Senator's point about the length of the jobs. Two-thirds of the jobs created by these Proposition 39 energy projects are construction projects. These are not large projects in the millions of dollars. They are fairly modest amounts by construction standards, and so they are of shorter duration. We additionally have 460, and one other point is that those are actual jobs reported by the contractors at the end of the projects. We've asked that districts include in their bid documents for construction that the contractors will provide the necessary information so that we can evaluate how many job hours are being created by these jobs. Additionally, with the 465 projects that are currently in process, we expect to have the same or better results. We've also awarded over 13,000 certificates, degrees, and industry certifications in energy-related fields, including construction, environmental controls technology, and electrical and electronics technology. We recently did submit our report to the Citizens Oversight Board, which detailed the projects that were completed as of October 2015, and there were approximately 150 projects. The report is extensive, and if you were to want to, you could drill down to the exact project at the campus level and know how much was spent on the project, what the energy savings was, what the incentives to the district were, or any other of those data points that I know are of interest. So finally, we feel that the Chancellor's Office and the districts have been very successful in our use of Proposition 39, and that we have met the objectives and requirements of the program. We are continuously trying to improve the program, and we'll do that based on anything that may come out of this endeavor. And so with that, I thank you. And actually, the districts thank you very much. They're very appreciative of the program, and it really has been a huge benefit to the community colleges and to the students we serve.
Thank you very much. Member comments. Senator Roth and then Galgiani.
So it's my understanding, and my data may be wrong, that about 86 schools in the 31st Senate District participate in this program and receive money. So that would be 6 or 7 K through 12 districts and a community college district that I'm fairly certain participated as well. So are we saying that these community college districts and these K through 12 school districts have misspent the money and that the boards have engaged in misconduct? And if so, I'm not sure how the auditor does that in the state of California. With how many school districts do we have? The bulk of the money appears to be going to the K through 14 organizations under this Prop 39. Now, personally, I'm interested in efficiency, and I don't want anybody to misspend that kind of money anywhere on anything. But I guess my question, I have a couple for the auditor. How do you deal with this as an audit, Madam Auditor, and how do you determine the number of jobs actually created when you're dealing with this many K through 14 districts in the state of California, and the jobs presumably are contract jobs, many of them construction? And I'm looking specifically at audit scope and objective number 5.
Madam Auditor. please.
Right, Senator. The way I think we would have to approach this would be working with the respective agencies, such as the California Community College Chancellor's Office, and understanding their interactions with the various community colleges. I think there's over 100, 107 community colleges in the state. There's certainly over 1,000 school districts. So we would work with the other agencies that actually provide the funding to the various school districts. We may have to survey school districts if these agencies don't have that information. Certainly, that would be the best approach to try to capture all of the number of jobs created at all the districts that actually have some project underway. I think that's the way to start to narrow it, is if you have 1,100 school districts, I know there's over 1,000 school districts in the state, how many of those have actually received funding for a project, narrow it to those, and then to the extent the state agencies don't have information, then we would have to reach out to those individual school districts, perhaps just using a survey mechanism where they would report back to us, it's our understanding you've received X amount for a particular project. How much has been expended, how many jobs have been created, and then we would select perhaps a sample of those districts to go out and verify the information that we captured in the survey. That's often what we do when we conduct surveys. We go out and try to verify at least a sample of responses that we've received. So off the cuff, that would be my suggested approach to try to get to that information.
And I'm beginning to, I think at some point this program will probably need to be audited. I'm just beginning to think that it may be a bit premature to do it at this very point. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know, and maybe you said it in the letter and maybe I zoned out and missed it, but the Citizens Oversight Board, what is it exactly you were doing? What is exactly you were doing to try to get some clarity on this particular issue, given the allegation?
Well, concerning the jobs situation, the California Workforce Development Board presented its plan to quantify the total employment affiliated with funded projects at the last Citizens Oversight Board meeting on January 11th, just on Monday, I believe. The jobs report will be given to the Citizens Oversight Board to post publicly, and that report is used for the Citizens Oversight Board to draft its report to the legislature.
When is that report due?
We have been told that it'll be due at the beginning of March, and the report for the legislature has to be done 90 days after the first of the calendar year, so at the end of March 31st.
Is that a hard deadline?
We are trying to meet that deadline. The Citizens Oversight Board is trying to meet that deadline.
Well, when's the workforce report due?
The workforce report is, I've talked to the staff, and they think they can have it done by the beginning of March. So we have some time.
Do they get to set their own deadline, or do we need to do that for them, or are you doing it?
We're doing it.
Okay, yes. So you're going to set a hard deadline for them to meet?
Yes.
And then we'll have a report that talks about jobs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wasn't there some other allegation floating around in the newspaper having to do with using the money for consultants as opposed to projects?
I don't know about that. Sorry.
Okay. We're also, my understanding is the Senate's having an oversight hearing on this particular issue. Will you be participating in that?
I believe one of our board members will be present at that meeting coming up. Board member Arno Harris will be present.
Well, my thought is perhaps if the Citizens Oversight Board does its job, and if this workforce, is it the workforce development?
Yes, that's correct. It's in the Public Resource Code that they have to submit that job report.
And if that entity does its job, then perhaps we can get a little more granularity on this issue before we launch the auditor trooping up and down the state on this issue. But this is a lot of money, and we need to make sure that the money is used appropriately for the projects that were specified in the proposition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Member Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I invite Mr. Jones on this. If at some point I tend to lean on the other side, which is we have a good goal, which is to have green jobs in California. It's a great goal. And if our dollars aren't going the right way, we want to catch that as soon as possible. And that these reports that are coming forward can be ones, as we heard from earlier testimony today, and it was related to a different report, that the auditor can rely on and can guide this. But I'm hesitant to delay what the auditor's work can be in this area, because she has a very good track record of being on time and getting us reports that aren't delayed, and has hard deadlines, and you meet them. So, and we want to make sure that we are making the adjustments as quickly as possible for how we can get those dollars spent. So that's more of a comment. I welcome our colleague if he feels the same way, that this is something that is better for us to do now and allow the process that we have going in other areas to assist the auditor's information, but to go forward.
It's actually part of my closing comments. So,
If you can just reserve those comments for just one moment, I want to, while we have senators here, want to call for a vote on high-speed rail, item number 2016-102. Please call the absent members.
On item 2016-102 concerning high-speed rail, Senator Cannella. Cannella not voting.
That request fails. And we'll look at item number 2016-103, Mendoza, LA Unified School District, removing teachers from classroom. Please call the roll on the absent members.
On item 2016-103 concerning Los Angeles Unified School District, Assemblymember Nazarian. Nazarian, aye. Senator Cannella. Aye. Cannella, aye. Senator Fuller. Aye. Fuller, aye. Galgiani.
We'll keep that item. Passes? That measure passes. We'll keep it that item open just for any members who wants to vote. Now we're at the period of public comment. We would like to invite any of the public to please come to the microphone on my right, your left, if you wish to speak regarding the California Clean Energy Jobs Act, Proposition 39. Going once, going twice. We'll offer Member Jones opportunity to give us closing remarks.
Mr. Chair, before he does, may I just simply ask the auditor a clarifying question?
Sure.
Madam Auditor, maybe I missed it, but when does this fall into the queue in terms of starting if this audit request were to be approved?
This audit, in all likelihood, as I indicated in my opening comments, we have resources to start 11 audits between January and March. Most of the audits will have to start in March because we have 7 or 8 audits we're issuing. So this would start probably mid to late March if it were approved.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Member Jones.
thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and I appreciate Senator Ross' very thoughtful deliberation and wanted to respond to a couple of things. Obviously, the number of schools that are receiving these funds is something we want to know, and how many schools throughout the state are taking advantage of these funds, and that's really part of the controversy. And the article that I stated in my opening comments was there was some question are the dollars actually moving from the legislature that are being raised by Prop 39 to the schools? So we want to answer that question. And how many jobs are being created? Is it premature? Well, I don't think so, because the controversy and the questions have already been asked. The press is already paying attention to this. We've already appropriated over $1 billion over the past 3 years towards this program. The voters approved this in 2012, so they're expecting results, and they're expecting results on the initiative that they passed. So I think at a cost of $250,000, and the auditor is saying that she has the bandwidth to start this in March, why not get it started so that the next $1 billion that's appropriated we know is appropriated appropriately? Consultants, that was a very poignant part of the article, and the concerns on this Prop 39 is that more of the money had gone to pay consultants for planning, organization, theories, than money that actually went to putting shovels in the ground and hammers on the walls and electrical wire providing power and solar panels on roofs. So I think that we need to look at that. I think that with the Senate Oversight Committee coming up, obviously I would think that Senator Leno and Senator De Leon are going to be paying attention to that, and I'm going to approach them and get insight from them and how we can move forward with this audit and help get this approved as well. One of the things that I've recently learned as a process of going through this that will be enlightening to all of us is, as part of the initiative that didn't come out during the voting process or when this was being promoted in the media, the funds that are not appropriated towards these projects automatically falls into the general fund. And so now we've got a program that the taxpayers and the voters of California have approved, thinking that these funds are earmarked or set aside, whatever phrase you want to use, and protected specifically for this purpose. And now we learn, after digging deeper into it, that they just go to the general fund if we can't find a project to put them towards. So I think we ought to look at that as well and make sure that that's being handled properly as well. So with that, I would ask, when we take this up next week for a vote, that I'd ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Since we're not taking a vote today on this item, I'm going to give liberty to Senator Ricardo Lara for a comment on this particular item.
Thank you. I just have a question, and I apologize for being in and out. I wanted to just double check. My understanding is the information that the letters requesting and Senator Jones is already available in the Energy Commission, through the Energy Commission. Is it available or not?
So the Energy Commission is scheduled to submit their yearly report coming up in March. So we'll have that data then.
So but
I believe it's publicly available online.
That's what my understanding is. It's on the website, right?
I believe so, but they are submitting it to the board in March, at a March meeting, to be voted
somebody
on.
from the public can actually go into the website currently right now and get the information that is being requested.
Yes.
And that is also true for community colleges.
Perfect. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I was able to look at some of the information very quickly, and I actually found out that Senator Jones and I have something in common. He got $8 million in his district. I have double the size, and I got only $8 million as well. So maybe I should be requesting on it. But anyways, I just wanted to make sure, because my staff did the simple search on the website.
For the K through 12 program, the California Department of Education actually allocates the funds, not the Energy Commission.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may make one more closing point in response to that.
Sure.
One of the interesting things about this whole process of even threatening an audit request, and of course having the AP pay attention to this, is all of a sudden the board had a meeting, and all of a sudden all this information is starting to become available. I think it's incumbent upon the legislature to make sure that the all of a sudden activities are actually the proper activities, and we're getting the information that we're supposed to be getting.
Point well taken. Thank you very much. This item will be voted on the 20th of January at 3 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, where are we at? Next, we'll have the state auditor with her proposals, and I'll turn it over to the state auditor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we consider the two proposals before you today, I wanted to give you a very high-level overview of this local government high-risk program. I know time is very sensitive, but this is a program that when now Senator Lara was a member of the Assembly and actually the chair of the Audit Committee, there were concerns related to the City of Bell and other cities as far as their not only their financial practices, but their management practices. So he authored legislation authorizing my office to establish a local high-risk government agency audit program, similar to our state program. And really the purpose of this particular program is to identify, audit, and issue reports, make recommendations to local governments. And it's not just cities, although we're considering two proposals today related to cities. We also are doing analysis of special districts. We have the authority to look at any publicly created entity under this program, and really trying to identify areas of abuse, fraud, waste, but certainly mismanagement, or whether these entities are facing challenges, in particular fiscal challenges related to their economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. So what my office has done in the last year and a half is we went through a regulatory process. We wanted to make sure we involved the community. So we invited comments from before we even drafted our regulations from the League of Cities, the Association of Counties, talked to other entities that may be impacted by this, Special Districts Association, and they really gave us some information that assisted us in drafting the regulations. What the regulations essentially do is lay out this program and really lay out for individuals who are interested or the entities that may be subject to these audits what the risk factors are that we are looking at to determine whether or not we identify an agency as potentially high risk at the local level. The difference between this program and the state high risk program is one of the requirements of this program is after my staff have done an assessment and reached a conclusion that there is a potential that this particular entity is at high risk for inefficiencies, et cetera, we need to seek approval to conduct an audit through this process, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee. So that's why we have a couple of proposals in front of you today. But very quickly, what we did is we looked at over 400 cities in the state of California using publicly available information because we didn't have the authority to go in and audit at that point in time. So we looked at information the State Controller's Office has. We received other policy reports out there by research groups and really looked at these cities, came up with a variety of indicators similar to the factors, or actually the indicators that we have in our regulations, and basically looked at all of these cities and tried to narrow it down to about 15 cities that we thought, based on several factors, not just fiscal factors, but operational issues, really may be at risk for inefficiency, mismanagement, et cetera. So during the interim, when in July, when the legislature was in recess, I sent staff out. We selected 6 locations. Staff went out, met with those localities, and did a little bit deeper dive into some of the issues. We wanted to make sure the respective entity had the opportunity to share with us any thoughts they had on the risks we identified. For example, if we're looking at a 5-year window and a city is running a deficit for 5 years or their pension obligations are continuing to grow, does the city have a plan in place to address that issue, and what are the alternatives that they're considering? So after we visited those 6 entities, we decided 3 of those really did not warrant an audit at that time. We didn't think it was worthy to come to the legislature in this particular committee and ask for approval to audit. We did have 3 that the city of Richmond, the city of Maywood, and the city of Hemet that we were concerned about. And we had hoped to have a hearing last year on this issue. That didn't work out, so we communicated with those 3 cities and said, the hearing is not going to happen in 2015, but we intend to continue to monitor you and perhaps bring proposals to the committee early next year. So I appreciate the chair's willingness to have you consider 2 of the proposals that we have before us today. The reason we didn't include the city of Richmond is we received information from the city of Richmond a couple of weeks ago. They had a consulting group, it's called a National Resource Network. It's part of the Obama administration, Strong Cities, Strong Communities, went in and did an analysis for them and came up with some alternatives for addressing some of their issues. They also have been improving as far as their revenue projections, their reductions in expenditures. Plus, most importantly, there are some decisions that the City Council in Richmond will be making in February. So our discussions with the city have been, we need to see the results of those, and if we aren't satisfied and we still have concerns, we may bring that proposal back to the committee, perhaps at the March hearing or perhaps at the June hearing, depending upon resources available, and certainly the legislature's requests take priority over the proposals that we bring to the committee. So in a nutshell, that is this program. I'm very excited about launching this program. I think it's something that's going to provide tremendous value to the state. When we went out to some of the localities in July, my financial experts, these are my financial folks who went out in the field, really looked at some management practices and identified some issues that those cities already have corrected, but we think if we get out there, particularly City of Maywood and City of Hemet, we would be able to provide additional expertise to these cities to help them begin the recovery process and start to strengthen their fiscal stability, but certainly some of their operational and management practices as well. So I'll stop there, and if any members have any particular questions with respect to the program, or I can launch into the 2 proposals, or I know Senator Lara is interested in.
Okay. We want to invite your first one. We invite Maywood. If
The
you
City
can
of
please,
Maywood.
City of Maywood, they can please come up and take your seats here. State your name. Let me also say that I certainly appreciate Senator Ricardo Latta for putting this bill forward, because I think that it gets certainly the state auditor into, one, providing assistance and guidance to certain cities that may have issues. We want to make sure that all of our cities are doing well. Most importantly, we want the transparency and accountability to be there. And I certainly believe this gives us another bird's eye view on a local level with state intervention and guidance that's necessary. So again, I want to thank Senator Ricardo Latta for having a forethought to bring this item in a bill before the legislature and passing. And this is the first time that we'll be able to move this piece forward. And I want to thank the auditor in advance for her work in this regard. So with that, did you want to say a comment, Senator?